Obviously, I have a very distinct appearance. Since the accident, I can stick out like a sore thumb in places, and that's something I've had to be able to come to terms with and learn to accept. That this is the new me. This is as I am now. Um, and I'll have to admit, it wasn't always easy. I mean, when the accident first happened, I went through bouts of moments of depression and feelings of like how am I going to be able to deal with this for the rest of my life, because I was no longer the person that I was. My life would be completely different, and I realized that. So it kept me indoors quite a bit. I wasn't ready to step out into the world and have to deal with people's reactions to me, and it was just a fear of how they would react. Because I had no idea what it would be like. Um, but then I realized that I was just missing out on life, and that I wouldn't be able to enjoy life as I would want to. Living in fear of rejection or whatever, or not being accepted. Simply because I look different. So one day I just said, heck, I just got to get out there and just deal with it. So I just stepped out, and I had to put a brave face on, and but also I had to have a lot of confidence in myself too, and that's what's grown. Getting out more and more is just being able to accept me for who I am. And I realize, some people might not know how to deal with it. They may not know how to react to seeing someone as severely burned as I am. And at first, I took a bit of insult to that. It was hard to see people turn away, or some people gasp at the sight of me. But a lot of people would smile, would make eye contact and say hello, and that meant a lot, it encouraged me to to deal with it and to embrace it more. And now I'm able to take a step back, when people first introduce themselves to me, because people are genuinely very curious, and that's what it is first and foremost. Um, some people can sort of hold back on their first reaction, some people can't, and I realize that. And what I've been able to master more and more over time is to be able to sort of put myself in their shoes. Um, to imagine someone not having dealt with a situation like this, and how they would react to it. And people have different reactions to this, and that's what I realize, that everyone's different. But um, that once they've had to deal with that situation, hopefully they learn from it. So if someone might not know how to react to me, I may just look at them and decide to smile, to give them a chance to, to gauge that I am a person, and that they don't have to be scared, and but also that I understand that this may be a first for them, and that they need time to learn and experience that. Um, and it helps me learn too. It helps me grow, and it helps me become a stronger person to deal with things like that. But I also, it's a blessing and a curse, because it sort of gives me a bit of an edge too as a performer, because there aren't people that look like me. And I think as actors we always try to stand out or try to be unique in some way, right? Um, to get through that casting call or whatever. So I'm fully aware of the fact that um, having this unique appearance can benefit me in some ways, as well as not. Um, and the trick is learning how to to sort of use that to my advantage, and to use the positive traits of this situation to make the most of it.